What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Anchor of the Week. My name is Sadie.
I'm Courtney.
Yes. And if you're watching this video, you can see. If you're not watching, you haven't heard them yet. But we have two lovely ladies who are with us.
Absolutely.
It's a big day.
It is
I'm
a huge
excited
day.
for this interview.
Yes. We have our friends Gabby and Laura, and we will let you guys have a moment to explain who you are, what you do, all of that. But this is very exciting for me and Sadie because, as you would have heard from our first episode, this season we're putting a heavy focus on meet the friends that keep us anchored, you know, or the friends that really speak into our lives, or the friends that build us up, or the friends that challenge us in the way that we think, or our opinions, and all of these different things. And that's exactly what we're doing today.
Yes.
I'm really excited.
Yes.
We're here to have conversations that maybe you're not going to have with your friends, because we're about to talk about something quite deep today, actually. To give you a brief overview, Gabby and Laura are dancers, and we're going to talk about the relationship between your body and your art when your body is your art. And so just content warning from the beginning, we might be, saying some pretty, I don't know if controversial is not the right word, but possibly triggering things. Taboo things,
exactly.
you know. So just be warned of that, but we really want this to be a space where we can actually just be real about this. We, like in this conversation, we are all women, so we'll be talking from a woman's point of view. But not to say that guys can't relate to this at all. And but yeah, we just want this to be raw, to be honest, and maybe it's something that you're not comfortable talking with your friends about, but you can talk to us about it. That is your
introduction.
That's your introduction, your disclaimer, all of that. Well, okay. Let's just get into it. Gabby, Laura, take some time to introduce yourself, whatever that means to you. Introduce yourself with whatever you want to say. I'm not gonna. Yeah. And then we'll talk about the dance studio, the dance company, and get into all of that. But as people first, because before you are our dance studio or whatever, you are our friends. So introduce yourself.
I am Gabby. I am originally from the United States. I've lived in London for 8 years now.
Same.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, my mic was in the way. I didn't see it. I am obviously a dancer and very passionate about dance. I've been dancing since I was a little kid. But on top of that, I work in administration and finances. And a lot of other things. But I'm really passionate about creating spaces that like build people up and working kind of behind the scenes to make platforms and make people's lives possible and the dreams that they have possible. And that also leads into dance and like my passion for teaching and creating. And my heart that I bring into that is that I want people to have access to dance. I want people to feel creative and know that they have a space, even if they're not professional, even if they're not sure or trying something new, or if they are professional and maybe no one's ever actually invested in them before. And so that's kind of my, that's what drives me. Yeah.
That's great.
Love that. Amen.
Okay. So I'm Laura. I'm from France. I've been living in London for over more than 4 years now. And yes, I'm a dancer too. I'm passionate about dance in general, especially the urban styles. And a part of that, I'm also a mechanical engineer. And in general, I just love learning new things and connecting with people, learning about their experiences, their knowledge, and just getting together and like always trying to find a way of how can we connect and build each other up. And that's what I'm thriving for. So
Yes. Amen.
Love that. You guys are both dancers and I think
Exactly.
that is so key. And which could be a whole other like topic in and of itself, you know. But they're amazing. They're great. They are passionate about what they do, and it's amazing. And we're right here in their studio.
Yes.
Which, and I think we did a pretty good job
Explaining last time. Yeah. Studio.
I was going to talk about the floor.
Oh.
Maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, we
But
can.
they're gonna see in this in like the Instagram posts because you can't hide it.
True.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
AIM, which is where we're at.
All in Movement
All
Studio.
in Movement Studio, which is part of the studios that we mentioned in the first episode back. If you watched it, if you haven't, go watch it and listen to it. But yeah, it's part of the cave here, and these two lovely ladies help run AIM. Can you talk about what that means, All in Movement, and like how you came up with that name for your studio?
So maybe a year ago, one of our friends was giving a talk, and at some point he was mentioning that his friend is Eric, actually. He was mentioning, guys, it's time to be all in. And it was really resonating in our hearts of like, yeah, it's time to be fully committed and fully a part of something, but fully there, you know. And yeah, because we are also co-sharing this space with a gym at the moment, like everything is related with, it's connected with movement, so it made sense for us that we needed to be all in movement. So yeah.
I was gonna say that true Anchor of the Week fans will know Eric from, I think, like the first several episodes.
Yeah. Wasn't
When
that
it was
like the
me and Lucas and
I
Eric
remember
and
that
Ina.
episode.
Yeah. Anyway, that just
Die-hard fans.
Die-hard
will
fans will
know.
From the beginning, OG fans.
Yes, but that is something that I love, and I think, okay, we're gonna obviously talk into the topic, but all in movement, right? And it's so funny because we're like, yeah, we have to be all in, but we just described how you guys are like, this is not the only thing that you do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we like confuse being all in with obsession,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I just think that that is something that I've never actually thought about. I mean, I've known you guys in this for so long, you know, but how are you all in with something, but you can be all in to several things. And I think that's sometimes something we don't actually allow ourselves to be. When you're dancing, you're all in, you know.
Yeah.
When you're being a mechanical engineer, you're all in, you know. When you're hanging out with your friends, be all in.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where let's not just, all in movement does not mean become obsessed, which I think might play into some of our conversation in a little bit. But like, just for me at least, it's like give everything that you have to that thing in front of you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just
Definitely.
put two and two together right now.
Right.
So.
And like wherever you are, be fully there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm a terrible multitasker. So that's a principle that's pretty easy for me, because if I'm not fully present in it, I'm not going to do a good job at all.
Yeah.
Some people are better at multitasking, and
That's
yeah,
fair.
I'm not. So
I feel like I'm one of those people, like my body will be there, but my mind will not be there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sadie goes, amen.
Yeah. Here, here.
So I think we can all practice some all in movement.
Yes.
But yeah. Okay. Should we just dive into it?
Let's
get
do
it.
it.
Let's get
Okay.
it.
So I'm going to start this conversation. We're going to break it open with an anecdote, a memory, shall we? So basically, this topic has been on my mind since about this time that I'm about to say, not this time, but a few years ago, we had, as part of the arts collective, that is now the Cave, we were putting on an online exhibition. We were filming for it. And this was just after COVID, and all the different art collectives had come together. It's called Trailblaze. It's probably still on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to exist somewhere.
It has to exist. Yeah. But part of this production, so we were all in this beautiful church. We'd set up a set for it, you know, and we're filming, and it was this long night. And you guys had this amazing dance that started with you guys behind a screen, right? And so we saw the silhouettes of your body. And it was amazing. I think you danced to like a Vancouver Sleep Clinic song or something like that.
Yeah.
Big fan. I know, because I don't forget Vancouver Sleep Clinic.
It's a great one, yeah.
It's a great song. But I remember I was watching, I was like, oh, like this is so cool. It's kind of like, you know, you're playing with lights and shadow, and like, oh, I love things that are whatever. But then talking to you guys about it, I think it was Gabby that was specifically talking to, right? And it was like, you were like, my body is on display. Because obviously when you're behind a screen, it's like enlarged.
Yeah.
Like
And just a silhouette.
It's just a silhouette. And I won't like give the details of what was happening. I'll let you do that. But basically you were saying like, my body is on display in such a giant way right now. Because it was massive. I mean, it was like quadruple your size, you know? It was just, and it was like, oh, for me, like, especially as someone who has struggled with body image issues, which I'm sure everyone has in some way or another. I had this moment where I was like, your art form is literally putting your body on display. And I think in my brain, I would have been like, oh yeah, but they're dancers. It's just what they do. Yeah. You know? And then I was literally watching you have a breakdown during the filming of it, you know? And I was like, this is something I've never thought about.
Yeah.
And something that I'm like, we should we should talk about, you know? And let's dive into that. So you guys can share whatever you want to share, how deep you want to go, whatever you want to expose, you know? Because I want, this is just the girlies here. And whoever's listening, whether you're a girly or not, that's okay. But it's like that intimate atmosphere, like, let's just talk about that. Let's talk about that moment. And then let's talk about our relationship with our bodies.
Yeah.
So, floor is yours, Gabby, if you want to bring us into that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't think ahead of time how brutal that experience was going to be.
You're just like, oh, it's cool. It's gonna be cool.
Well, we never practiced with the projection and the silhouette and all of that till we were filming. And I was like, oh no. Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely was, and I was pretty open about this at the time, like while it was happening, that I was just fully having a panic attack while we were filming and just had to like kind of pull myself together. And I was like, okay, well, you can't break down right now. You can't just burst into tears in the middle of filming. So you're going to have to set this aside, get over it, and deal with it in a few minutes.
Yeah.
And that was just, and I mean, I did, like, we had a whole conversation about it. You know, I was like, all right, I think there's some deep issues I need to deal with here that are on display, not just for me, but for everyone. And just, as well, not just filming it, but also everyone involved in the production that day is there watching, talking about it. I see everyone watching. I was like, nope. Yeah.
Was there a specific moment that you think that you were like, okay, no, this ain't it? Or was it literally just seeing like the projection? Or like, I don't know, can you kind of take us, is there anything that sort of like set that off?
There's nothing specific that I remember. I do remember seeing everyone watching, and that was like, oh no. You know, that I think that might have been the moment of panic. And and just realizing like, oh, I haven't had to deal with this issue or like been specifically confronted with this issue in a while, but it's still there, obviously. Yeah.
Because that's what I was going to say. You've literally been a dancer your entire life.
Yeah.
So was there anything different about this moment, or was it just a time where you were like, no, we have to deal with this now? Like, you know, in life, things just come up as we get older, as we mature, as other things start clicking for us.
Yeah.
Sometimes things are unearthed, you know? Was it just kind of that sort of a thing for you?
I think so. Like, I don't remember anything else, you know, and that definitely, it has come up before and has been an issue throughout my life. And even like having friends who have like, you know, had terrible eating disorders. And so it kind of being the culture that I grew up in a lot.
Which we should definitely, I don't know if we want to take a dive into that now or after or in a little bit, but like, walk us through the disordered relationship between dancers. I was saying their bodies, but I feel like it's dance culture, I guess, maybe, and what it perpetuates.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm like, I haven't been super around like a dance studio where they were like very a thing into that, but I think it depends as well of like where you have been raised and in your family. For example, I think my mother, she has been struggling with eating with like food in general for over her life, and like my older sister too. So I thought I had this problem, but it was reversed because they were more overweighted than I was, but I thought I had the same issue as they were. So I wasn't eating that much, but I was actually I should have eaten more, actually. So then it has just been a thing for my, even since today, because I think my body image is not the way it should be, because I don't see myself in a mirror the same way that people see me around, I think. So yeah, and yes, obviously I'm a dancer, so like when you're working and you see your body image all the time because there is mirrors around, like you're confronted to yourself every single time you're dancing. So yeah,
I think on that line, I was curious, just made me think of like the idea of body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have struggled with that or if you know people in the industry, but I'm curious what that looks like. Because I know people in my life who have struggled with it, but they don't do anything like dancing, where it is, like you said, your body is on display. You're looking at yourself in the mirror like you have to for the, to get the production. Yeah, to get it correct, So I'm curious what your relationship with that is, or how you've dealt with it before in the past, or had conversations about it before with other people, if you have.
I feel like it, at least for me growing up, it wasn't talked about very much. It definitely was a thing, but it wasn't talked about until someone was at the point of like needing to be hospitalized. Yeah. And otherwise it was just like, yeah, we all this is how we all feel. So it was just that underlying culture that, until it got so extreme that then it was a problem. But as long as you ate enough that you could get away with it, then it wasn't addressed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I simultaneously have so much to say, but I'm also speechless.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I mean,
and the environment that I grew up in wasn't that bad.
I was like, it was definitely not dance moms.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
but that, just to give a scale, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, and to think about it though, because we say this, I think we can very like objectively look at it and be like, oh, bad dance, bad. But I think we can put that across not only so many industries, but also in our own lives. Like the whole even principle of, as long as you can kind of get away with it, like, and it's not that bad, And so like, okay, maybe I'm not a dancer, but how often did I live my life? And a lot of people know my story and all of my very disordered relationship with my body over the years, but how many times okay, it's not that bad. Like, yeah, I should be fueling myself, but I'm just going to fuel myself enough.
Yeah.
And I think, like, how do we break, whether you're in dance or you're not in dance, that is such a common mindset, And I think, okay, maybe food's not your thing, but I think you can apply that to so many different areas of life.
Yeah.
How have you guys been finding, like, how do I break that I guess, thought pattern or that thought cycle, or the, like, especially when it's something that, like, no one's sitting there watching you eat the entire time.
Right.
You come, I see you, I have no idea what, like, you ate. And to be honest, I don't really care that much. I don't want you to give me an entire breakdown of your macros and whatever, and like, I consumed this much, and like calories converted to energy, and like, But like in something that can be so secretive, how do you break that mindset?
I think as well it's like when do you realize that it's actually an issue in your life? Because it's so easy to get away with it, to to think like, no, but it's not that bad, because I don't need to go to the hospital because to be hospitalized for that. Or so when do you realize that actually it's something that you need to deal with, and that not everyone has the same thought pattern that you have of like, oh, maybe, like if I'm gonna eat that, I'm gonna have like that many calories, so maybe I'm not gonna eat until the rest of the day, and like to realize that no, not everyone is struggling with that. So you have to face first of like, this is actually an issue, and you need to work with people to be accountable with that. Because when you work with friends, or when you work, as Gabby and I, we are working together, and so obviously I'm not gonna tell her like what I've been eating, but at the same time we are working on closely enough that she can have an eye on that,
I think what's also important, like, because I'm thinking about this, I'm like, yeah, actually, you guys are like quite good at that, and like you will call each other out if needed.
Oh yes,
right, which is amazing.
Yes.
Which is yeah, that could be a whole other sub podcast. Tell us every time you called each other out. It's many, but that's part of, again, this is the heart of this podcast in general, is like, get people around you that can call you out, and I'm sitting here thinking about this, and I'm like, okay, but why does not everyone do this, or wouldn't feel comfortable doing it? But I also think that you guys don't have a level of competition between the two of you.
Yeah.
Right?
That's big.
And I'm wondering, I'm sitting here thinking, like, is this the key here? Right? Because I think when there is that level of competition, or even if it's like subliminal, like I need to have an edge, I need to be better, I'm not going to necessarily share that I'm struggling.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So even if you guys are working together or on the same team or directing a dance studio,
Right.
you know, even like if there is that sort of like, I need to have that edge, that edge is gonna be actually a wedge between vulnerability and actual relationship. So I know this doesn't directly relate, but I think as women as well, we're so competitive with ourselves that it projects onto one another. And I think this is a huge thing, especially when it comes to our bodies. And I remember like having that conviction that like when I looked at a woman and being like, oh, like her hips are smaller than mine, I need to get hips like that, but I'm objectifying her. I have just reduced her to an object, but that's because I'm reducing myself to an object.
Exactly.
Because all I am now is the width of my hips, you know? And like that was a good like late teenage years breakdown that I had. So I'm just wondering, okay, so if you were like, you're not looking at each other from that perspective, like how do you not be competitive with each other? Like, let's just be honest. You are two friends that are beautiful, that have, you know, a lot of times when you have similarities with one another, that's when you're most competitive. Because if you're really different, then it's like, well, there's nothing to compare.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you guys manage to not stay competitive?
I would say through brutally honest conversations.
Back to calling each other out. Like,
It's true.
But like not even calling each other out, but also like being willing to be brutally honest. Like this is not a cute side of me, but this is this is it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I like also we've been friends, you know, for a long time, and we were not always like this has grown. This relationship has grown, you know? And that takes time and that takes like the choice to invest and the choice to be vulnerable when it's scary and you know, and now we're at a place where like I know I can say whatever. Whatever is happening, I can say it out loud and I'm going to be safe, you know? And the same for Laura, but it hasn't always been like that, you know? That there has been that choice to okay, I think we need to talk about this because this is where I'm at and this is not, you know, and that's not just like competing with each other dance-wise, that's also like relationally and, you know, in the things that have nothing to do with dance, just us being friends. Like,
But I also remember, for example, one time when we after a working day and I did not even think about, you know, like reflected through my day, but Gabby sent me a voice message and she was like, okay, so this is the way I felt after this moment, so just so you know, and you know I offended her, but I wasn't aware of that, and she was like, how can so she told me that because she wanted to know how she could love me better this way, you know. And it's so precious because it's a willingness of like sharing something, but at the same time the willingness of like wanting to share in order to grow in a relationship rather than just staying stuck and staying on the, you know, offended and okay, I'm not gonna move from it, and you know. And it was such a precious moment because for me it was the occasion to get to know her better and for her to love me better through my action, you know. So yeah,
That's so great. Wow.
I think, and even in there's a whole level of like fighting against self-protection. Which I think happens in a lot of our relationships. But so then if we want to loop it back to body as well, even though I think though, competition between friends,
That's a big thing.
this is a whole thing, and I'm totally fine.
Going down this hole.
Because I think,
segue.
honestly, like this might be where the episode's going, and I'm so okay with that. But I think like it has like you have to fight so much self-protection. In relationship, you know, in whatever. Because I'm like, Gabby could have shared that with you, or not shared it with you, but from a place of then almost like stiff arming, right? Like, but to share things like that and then have that vulnerable sort of like, okay, now ball's in your court, sort of an I guess attitude about it, you know, of like, okay, let's actually work on it, as opposed to I'm gonna share how I felt, and that is the end, you know. And my brain is just like, oh my gosh, like our relationships with each other are so layered. But even to go back to our relationships with their body, like there's, I think, a lot of self-protection in that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot that we just choose to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Something that I want to also bring around is, I think, conversations with Laura. I feel like I'm airing everyone's dirty laundry today. But I know, okay, so I talked about Gabby and her struggle. I know that you tend to struggle more on the hiding while dancing. Right?
Yeah.
Like we've had this conversation a lot. And in my, sorry, I'm like, oh, that's okay.
I was like, why did I have this
like,
conversation?
I don't know where she's going with that.
I was saying, and all of my friends listening to this podcast now are thinking like,
I'm never coming on
never
this
going
podcast.
What did she remember?
She did ask our permission first.
Yeah. Something. But like we've had this conversation, right? Or like you feel like you're hiding, or like, you know, not even wanting to like look in the mirror, you know, or just being a bit, and not necessarily because directly linked to, I don't like the way my body looks, so I'm not going to look at it. Like not even that necessarily. And in my brain, I'm like, how do you hide? Like, or I would never look at you and be like, oh, she's hiding when she's dancing. Like, no, because there's either her and a couple of the people on stage, like you can't hide, you know. But can you like maybe talk us through a little bit of like what that is like to be out there and like know that you're being shown but want to be hidden, and that kind of tension and that kind of like, so floor is open for whatever of that you want to unpack, because I think so many of us go through our daily lives. I'm here, but I'm trying to hide.
It's literally what we talked about with the all-in
sure.
movement, right? In the sense of you being all in is being all in, like physically present, but also mentally present. Because it could be similarly in that way of, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be doing it, giving my all, but mentally I'm not all in. Or vice versa. But yeah, go ahead.
I think there are two sides of it that I'm going to tackle. But for example, when I'm on stage, I know I don't have the choice and to show up and to do it, and I'm going to try to do my best. But when I'm in a studio and I'm I'm on training, and it's completely different because I want to hide. And for me, like, for example, I was sharing that with Gabby the other day, but just to look at myself in a mirror when people are around, it feels so weird to me. Like, I hate it. I hate that people are gonna see that I'm looking at myself in a mirror.
That's so real though.
That's, I don't know, I feel so shy, you know. I remember when I was preparing in a bathroom and my brother was around, you know, when I was putting my makeup on, I was always like, can you know, like go in somewhere else? So it just, I think it depends on how we've been raised again. I think it's, you know, everything comes from the way we grew up. But I think my mother, she was always afraid of us being too proud. So because of that, I think I have the weight of like, oh my gosh, you know, what if I'm just being prideful or becoming like this? So there is such a false pressure that I put on myself every time of like, I don't want to be too much, but then I end up being feeling not enough. And the balance into this is just crazy. And
That's the tagline for the episode.
In fear of being too much. We settle for not enough. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, there's so much to unpack, because even like that whole aspect of even looking in the mirror. Literally just the other day, I was in the cave and I was low-key checking myself, not checking myself out, but I was like trying to like see my outfit, because you know, like you wear different outfits and like whatever, and then someone walked in and was like, oh, checking yourself out, and I was like, oh, just, you know, checking, make sure the straps or whatever, and I was like, why did I just lie? I full on just lied. I just wanted to see if my outfit was as cute as I thought it was in my head, you know? Like,
I mean, even something along, like, I've noticed with a lot of people, mainly women, guys might do this, but even walking down the street, right? You can walk down the street and you see your reflection in something and you're automatically like, do I look okay? Like, you're just like automatically checking yourself out. But I don't even know if I have an answer to this or if anybody does, but like, what's the balance then of you're just appreciating how you look and like appreciating yourself versus, like you said, falling into conceit? Because I feel like there's got to be a balance, because you can either be, okay, I'm too prideful, I'm amazing, my ego, or you could be on the opposite end of the spectrum and be, I'm not enough, I'm horrible. But I feel like there is going to be some kind of nice balance. But what is, you know what I mean? It's like, what is that?
That for me as a dancer, and also for us as people, this mindset of, okay, my body has a purpose. How do I eat to fuel that purpose? And that, of course, I'm like super aware of on performance days, eating certain things, or like knowing how long a day is going to be, how much I'm demanding of my body. So how much am I setting myself up for success in that? But that also, you know, on my administration days, I'm thinking about, what does my brain need? Because my brain is also a muscle. My brain also needs fuel. Even if my body is sitting, my brain still needs.
I have to never once thought of that. Probably should.
My brain needs fuel to do everything that I'm asking it to do.
Wow.
You know, because it doesn't just wake up and like magically do everything fueled by coffee. You know.
Well, I'm out.
So yeah, and we can dive so much deeper into that, you know. But having that mindset as well of like, I know how much I'm asking my body to do, and I don't want to neglect it. You know, I don't want to abuse my body. Like I want to, and also I want to be a dancer for a long time. Which means I need to be wise, you know, and I need to treat my body like I want it to last for a long time. Because of course there's elements that are out of our control, you know, there's injuries that are going to happen, and sicknesses. That's life. Sicknesses and things. But as far as like, I can control what I eat, you know, I can decide how much protein I eat, or like those things I can think about, and even thinking, did this food make me feel good? You know, did I have energy the amount of time I needed energy when I ate this? If not, how can I improve that? You know?
So here's my question, my genuine question, as someone that is obsessive. And like when I'm all in, I'm like all in. How do you think about that and then just not think about it after? Do you know what I mean? Because in my seasons where I've had very disordered like food issues, that was all I thought about. So whether it was orthorexia, which is like the super hyper clean eating, you know what I mean, which is also just an eating disorder with a better face, a better PR, you know what I mean? It looks like, But then how do you just, I guess you probably can't answer my life problems here, but like what are some tips to like just stop it? Okay, like what am I eating? How does it make me feel? But then, okay, I move on.
I do actually. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I know that for me a big difference was moving to London and moving out of a all dance all the time environment. Being around dancers, but also being around people who none of that mattered to them at all. You know, and having other influences.
That's so good actually.
Was super beneficial for me.
Again, the DNA of the podcast.
Literally the conversation other influences.
We had last episode. But as well, like thinking about my health as not just what I eat. You know, like my health has to do with me as a whole person. And that means thinking about like my relationships, the things that I enjoy doing,
mental health.
Like, and so, and also thinking like what a mindset that really helped me was like, my meal doesn't have to be perfect, but I need to eat. Like putting my priority prioritizing my needs as I need to put food in my body above it needs to be perfect.
That's good.
That's actually so
good.
Like the day that this clicked for me, I had pizza twice in a day because it was what was available. And I was like, I don't know how I'm doing this right now. Like it was a genuine miracle.
A tizzy.
It was a genuine, like I was having a
breakdown.
I was having a breakdown.
Oh, I so get this. And I think so many people will get this. But we don't talk about this.
So
like it sounds so dumb to say it.
So many people can relate to this.
Yeah. But I had pizza for lunch and dinner. And that was because like that was what was available.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Because I was very aware that I was making a choice to not give in to what I was feeling. And that genuinely, that's that's such a big way that we see change in our lives.
And specifically in that context, what do you mean? Like, what were you feeling that you couldn't give into it?
That I couldn't eat that meal, like at dinner when it was
like
when
you'd
it was
rather
the
not
second-
eat
yes
than eat
I
the
would
pizza
rather
twice.
not I would rather not eat
Yeah.
than eat a meal that isn't up to the standard that it should be.
Wow.
Because I already had pizza earlier in the day, and that was already a meal, and it's not good enough to have it again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I would have skipped the meal.
But this is real.
yeah.
This is so real. And as friends and as women and as people,
Yeah.
we should be talking about this.
So I kind of want to digress, but not too much, because we're talking about meals and everything. And I heard this one time, and I've kind of found myself operating in this, and I don't know if it is actually doing me well or not. But it's the idea that, you know, we're supposed to have 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. But I heard somewhere, sometime, that was you should really only eat when your body needs to eat. Like when you feel your body being like, I need food, then eat. Instead of just being, oh, it's lunchtime, I should eat. So do you think there's a good balance? Because, like, I don't know. In that case, like, for instance, if it was a scenario where I had pizza earlier in the day, let's say I had a lot of pizza, and it kept me full.
Yeah.
And then it was, oh, we're at a party now, there's more pizza. Should I eat it because it's dinner time, but I'm not actually hungry? So, I mean, what do you have to say to that? I don't know. I'm just curious.
I think that comes with what Gabby was sharing earlier. It's like, what are your plans for the day? Like, are you gonna like do some kind of like physical activities, or are you gonna do some kind of administration things, or what kind of energy your body might need for the day? And I think after it's about balance, and yes, listen to your body, but at the same time, it's like, what do you think you might need?
I think as well, like recognizing that, I mean, I personally haven't really struggled with like not having hunger cues. I'm very aware that I'm hungry when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that don't have normal hunger cues, that have repressed their hunger in their past, so they don't, you know?
Yeah.
And I know that we can have a real conversation about that here. That we, you know, don't recognize that we're hungry.
Wow. Yeah.
So then we repress it more, and then you're not giving your body what it needs because you don't know how to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? So that's a whole different
Wow.
issue. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Like, I want to, like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not the person that can fix that. But I think that's the first step with, like, honestly, like working with a nutritionist, working with someone who can, like, offer real help in that area to understand, like, when is your body telling you that you're hungry? You know, like, I have a friend who was like, I don't really recognize that I'm hungry, but I notice that I get crankier. I start to snap at people more. I can't like make decisions as quickly, you know, like, so this person starts to realize that they're hungry because of other things happening, and not because they feel like their tummy rumbling, you know?
Right. That's actually good. Wow.
But I was like, I'm so proud of you for recognizing that.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this so many times that you should be hungry more than you are.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
We have 3%, so.
Okay.
I mean,
Per minute, so.
yeah, we're at 43 minutes right now.
Okay. We
I
can
feel like
wrap
we,
it up.
I know, like we could keep going, but
Yeah.
we probably
Part
should.
two.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Cool.
Do you want to start wrapping us?
Yeah, sure. Cool. Awesome. Honestly, like, I feel like I've learned so much from this conversation. Like, I feel like we were supposed to be interviewing, but I'm just like, wow, yeah, I need to walk away and like think about some things. And I feel like we could just keep going, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is a really good spot to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And I also love that we didn't necessarily stick to one topic or one thing, but like the overall health and understanding of your body is a huge thing that needs to be talked about, especially amongst women, but I think amongst everybody. And I feel like this is going to open up so many conversations.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that, we move in the vulnerability, but also wisdom in the vulnerability. Like, make sure this is not just something that you're going to go talk to somebody about that also maybe shares same struggles as you, and then you kind of like spiral together. You know, like, let's have that refreshed mindset of like, hopefully everyone listening to this podcast can go like, if I struggle with any of these, or even if these like reminded me of something that maybe it's not exactly the same but similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's do something about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's like almost like agree together, like let's be the healthiest versions of ourselves,
Yeah.
whatever that even looks like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we, as always, would love to hear from you guys, or even
Yes.
any guys that are listening to this
Please.
that have
Yeah.
experience or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, we always want to know, so send us a message, reply in the comments, whatever. You know how to do that. And I also realized we never said which dance company you guys are even from, so would you like to just plug that really quickly?
Absolutely.
So it's called Révérence Dance Company.
Yes.
Yes.
Amazing. We'll just have their links below.
Yeah,
for Instagram,
yes,
all of that. They run amazing
Follow us
dance
on
classes.
Instagram.
Yes.
And
Honestly,
TikTok.
dance classes,
And
we'll be doing
TikTok.
workshops, shows, all of that. So stay tuned with that. But guys, thank you first of all for being our friends.
Yes.
This is great. And hopefully we gained a whole bunch of new friends from this episode too.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. This was so fun.
Well, we're so happy that you're here.
Yep.
And we will see you guys real soon on the Anchor of the Week.